Good evening everyone and welcome to TTML. We are here for Season 1, it's round 7 of the Championship as we take in the Hungarian Grand Prix from the Hungaroring. My name is James Head, I'm going to be your lead commentator here tonight. It feels so nice to say that once again after getting a brand new LAN cable, and hopefully the stream is going to be completely fine here tonight. If there's any problems, let me know. But joining me in the commentary box is, of course, Mr. Daniel Hoggart. Daniel, how are you doing?
Thank you very much, James. Yeah, I'm doing just fine on this evening. Cannot wait for round 7 of the Championship here in Division 5. Today, we are at Hungary, as you mentioned, and yeah, very much looking forward to this one. Of course, the last time out we saw Tekken extending that championship lead. Now leads, if I can do maths, by 28 points at the top, which is significant. So we'll see now if that is going to extend, or if we're going to see the potentially the pendulum swing back in this round. Very important one. Let's get it underway.
And his maths was completely and utterly right. It is 28 points between Tekken and Maximus. Certainly better than the maths I would do, to be honest. But still, Tekken leading the way, as you say, on 136 points. What happened last week? Tekken obviously won. Maze finished second, and Rock City on his debut finished third. Just to reiterate the podium results, Tekken obviously leading the way, as I say, on 136 points. Maximus in second on 108. Atlas Copo in third on 98. With Jeffrey in fourth on 93. Maze in fifth on 84. Jibby Storm in sixth on 81. Then a bit of a gap down to 0 in seventh on 58 points. Nilsson in ninth on 45. And Passels in 10th on 43 points. He's the sole remaining Renault as well out on track. Nellis in 11th on 40, with Invictus in 12th on 37, Salas in 13th on 34, Vax Viking in 14th on 30, he's a reserve, NSL Storm in 15th on 29, Sapmi King in 16th on 26, Tom in 17th on 23, Rock City in 18th on 20, De Miles in 19th on 9, and DN200G in 20th on 6 points. And of course, he was the other Renault. He has sadly vacated that seat out, but to draw our attentions to the top end of the field, Tekken obviously running away with things out in front. He was so cocky in the Discord last week. I noticed that he put a message in saying, how many points, how many races will it take until I win the championship? Can he win the championship in the next few races? He's certainly got a good chance of it here tonight.
Yeah, we'll see, of course, but of course now with a 28-point advantage, that could well be enough to really start taking a stranglehold on the championship. Of course, it's very close now to the amount of points that you get for a race win, which is 30. So he's right up on the cusp of that. And once you get above 30 points, that's really when you can start to rest a bit easier. Even so, you know now that even if your closest rival, in this case, of course, it's going to be TTG Maximus. But you know that even if you have a complete disastrous race, you're going to maintain that championship lead. So if there's another strong race for Tekken, and we saw it last time out brilliantly, coming through the field after stopping for a second time in the race, made his way through after making an extra pit stop, and ended up winning the race overall. And so that's going to be a big psychological boost, and I think that cockiness that you mentioned may actually be rather justified. He's certainly on great form. We'll see if he can extend on that as we head into Hungary in just a few seconds' time.
Yeah, I think Tekken certainly holds the advantage on merit. It is fantastic to see him being so consistent so far this season. But again, Maximus, Atlas Copa all going to be in there fighting tonight here at Hungary as well. We better go into qualifying. Just to reiterate on the constructors' standings as well. Racing Point lead on 214 points. Mercedes in second on 177. Ferrari in third on 152. How on earth they're third in Division 5 is beyond me. They're doing better than the real team in real life. Renault in fourth on 142 points, with Red Bull in fifth on 131. AlphaTauri in sixth on 98, with McLaren in seventh on 82. Williams in eighth on 69. Haas in ninth on 49. And Alfa Romeo in 10th on 43 points. We're just waiting now on Jeffrey in Invictus and Zero now to ready up into qualifying. And we had a wet qualifying last night in Division 2. It was wet, as I say, with it being dry compound of tyres. It was that sort of track where the track would evolve and the track certainly evolved over time. Last one to come across the line last night was Scuba. He took pole position. Are we going to see the same conditions here tonight? We're about to find out in just a couple of seconds. And no, it is not. It is pure dry, which is good to see. 14 drivers going to do battle around here, of course, for the Hungarian Grand Prix at the Hungaroring. With a reduced attendance, actually, it's not going to be that bad in terms of qualifying. You're not really going to get held up on a lap.
Yeah, and that's going to be very handy for the drivers, because this is a very short lap and very narrow, so difficult to get out the way of cars, particularly through that second sector of the lap, I'm thinking, through the sort of high-speed S section. So that's going to do the drivers a favour. That said, it is a little bit disappointing to see the attendance all a bit down, so hopefully we do get a very good race out there, and the 14 drivers we have on offer tonight will put on a show.
Yeah, it is certainly going to be fantastic to see. Invictus is out of the pit lane first. Not sure if he forgot to put his pit limiter off there, to be honest, coming out of the pit lane. It was quite slow, but Invictus is out first. Sapmi King just in behind him, out on track. And as I say, 14 drivers around here. You shouldn't really get any traffic problems in terms of qualifying. Not like Perez and Raikkonen today in FP2. Yeah. Hopefully these drivers have not watched the real life F1 and one channel their inner Sergio Perez here tonight. Or certainly their inner Kimi Raikkonen as well.
Yeah, that was there was some rather peculiar scenarios around, of course. The track is very new, of course, so the drivers and teams will see how that goes down. But of course, for tonight we are focusing on the proceedings in TTML Division 5, starting off with Invictus _ many numbers in the McLaren heading towards the lap there. It's a track that is brilliant to hold lap around. Very technical, very difficult, but the driver that's just is very brave and carries the most apex speed without making a mistake, especially if that second sector is going to go through nicely here. So Invictus now round the last corner. We'll see if he kicks things off there. Starting off with a flying lap. Let's get that started. Yeah,
opens up the DRS running down the straight, 195 mile an hour, just over running down just after the 100-metre braking point, down in towards turn 1, and again opens up a DRS zone down towards turn 2. I question why they've got a DRS zone down in towards turn 2. They could easily put it up the hill in towards turn 4, but Invictus on a lap. He's got I Am Silas just getting out of the way to the right hand side of him, and now coming toward the end of the first sector. Invictus through the first sector, 26.8, pretty much dead on what we saw last night, to be honest, in Division 2. So Invictus through turn 5. If you get right on the curve there coming through turn 5, it really throws the car off centre. Now Invictus coming through the tricky chicane, through 6 and 7, and then towards this very technical middle sector. As Dan said, very technical, very hard to get right at the best of times. Invictus now coming through the middle sector. Let's see what his time's going to be. 53.4 through the middle sector for Invictus as he now comes through turn 12. We'll fly on board through the final two corners with this outside camera. As now Invictus comes through turn 13. Another corner, if you ride too much on the curb, you can half spin and you can lose a bit of front wing on the inside at the wall. But now Invictus through the final corner, coming around towards the line. This is a good lap from Invictus, 1:15.1, and I think has already actually beaten last night's Division 2 time. But of course that was a wet qualifying session to begin off with.
Yeah, but the lap did look very clean from Invictus. I think he will be pleased with that. We've got Nilsson now over the line and does not trouble that mark. 1.1 seconds off his teammate. Nilsson may be looking to try and go again. Has he got a couple more cars coming over the line? Now we've got Passels, who's invalidated on that run. What would it have been? This is 17-0. Maybe just backed off at the end. He's going to look to try and go a little bit quicker later on. What's going on?
Nilsson, I thought he spun coming out of turn 1. He hasn't. He was just getting out of the way of somebody.
Okay, as we got Tech and of course championship leader on the intermediate tyres. Am I saying correctly? That is very odd there. I'm not sure. Look,
he is on the inters. What's he doing? What?
That is certainly not the certainly one of the more unusual strategy calls I've seen in league racing. That's quite peculiar there. The Racing Point shows that even the best drivers in the division can have their mistakes there. He comes out on the intermediate tyres.
Unless he is trying to tell us something about the race, perhaps.
He's just sending a signal to us. Is that what we're saying?
A physical signal that we're seeing on the stream. Tekken, yeah, there is a green wall compound of tyre on that car. And I'm not sure if he meant that on purpose or not, but I'm sure we'll try and tune in. Sardas across the line, 22.6, but inevitably he is going to improve on that lap from a set of medium compound of tyres. Jeffrey improves 16.227, actually only 100th off Nelson. And he's on a set of mediums.
Yeah, and I was just going to mention that harder compound of tyre, not giving as much grip, so Jeffrey could be up there. Rock City goes second, and he did impress him very much last time out there, as Nellis goes in a third place out there. But Rock City made his debut, I believe, last time out in Austria and stormed to a podium in his debut. So very impressive for the Haas driver, and I think he's going to be one to watch throughout the remainder of this season. Clearly a very talented driver who looks to make an impression. Rock City already up there at the front, but Invictus, we saw how good that banker lap was in that McLaren. A 151 at the moment, looking like a very strong time, and he could really be heading for a really good result here in qualifying, which is so important round here.
Yeah, really important to get a lap in. Vax Viking, I thought, was going to get a lap in without any ERS, but he's into the pit lane on that set of medium compound of tyre. Probably just feeling how long he can probably go on a race strategy. That's what we saw last night, certainly within qualifying. Salas round the final corner, he's invalidated on this lap. I think we've got Jeffrey as well coming round the final corner. He's coming into the pit lane, and there's an AlphaTauri coming round the final corner, and I think that's Nellis. No, it's not. It's the other AlphaTauri of Zero. He's just about to start a lap, I think.
Yeah, we'll take you through it now. And then AlphaTauri, of course, Zero drove absolutely superbly last week and nearly taking the race win from the back of the field. Now, we will see how he shapes up now, heading down towards turn 2, onto the right, slight downhill there, cambered corner, shifts up very early there to really maximise the traction. Now, onto the power, down up the hill. Down up the hill, that doesn't make much sense. Down to turn 4 though, take as much apex speed as you can out into turn 5. Do not hit that curve on the inside, it will completely unsettle the car there. And we've got Silas getting out of the way very nicely there. Now it's turn 6 and 7, able to navigate the curves nicely, get onto that power. Now in a turn 8, then turn 9, the corners come thick and fast here through this middle sector. Now kink of turn 10, and then an incredible high speed right-hander turn 11, uses much of the track as you physically can. It's looking like a quick lap so far. Now onto the brakes and a turn 12, pick up the throttle yet again, onto the brakes yet again, just slowing that car down there. Third gear short shift, you're seeing a lot of short shifting on this lap, really trying to maximise that traction. Now turn 14, very difficult traction zone on the exit, pick it up now, derates, but he's still going to approach the line, and it is provisional pole by 600ths of a second. That is very tight, but Zero it is, who drove absolutely superbly last time out, making quite an impact now in qualifying there. 151, we'll see if anyone else can get up to that mark.
I hate to say it, I think they're going to be beaten, because Tekken was 3/10 up on Zero coming through the middle sector, and in fact he's into the pit lane. So Tekken not going to be setting this lap. He ran out of ERS coming through the final corner. So quite an interesting decision there from Tekken. I wonder actually if he's going to try and go last to first challenge.
That would be the height of arrogance, but if he can pull it off, then well played. We'll see, because there's a very not the kind of start to the qualifying session that you'd expect from a championship leader, but of course we still have a long time to go. It's relatively quiet out there on track. Maximus coming over the line to start a lap, and there's a lot of pressure on the Red Bull driver today, because he took a massive blow to his championship chances when a nightmare race out there in Austria now sets nearly a race win off the championship leaders we ran through earlier. So Max has so much pressure on his shoulders to deliver a good result and stay in that championship fight here tonight.
If I'm not mistaken as well, if I go back to last season in TTL F1 League 2, I'm sure Maximus, the last time he came here, actually won in Hungary, as well as Britain. Was the two races he followed up back to back. So Maximus will be interesting. He's purple through the first sector. Vax Viking is about 10 seconds ahead of him out on track. So he's now coming through the middle sector in the Ferrari. He's going to be right up the pace with Zero here through the middle sector. Actually 53.8, not so much coming through the middle sector, but it's going to be a clean lap nonetheless, providing he doesn't, of course, invalidate through the final two corners. Let's see what Vax can do. More than halfway through qualifying, Zero leads Invictus second, Rock City in third. Out in qualifying so far, only 7 drivers have set a lap. Vax Viking now around the final corner, comes across the line, settles into third. Good lap there from Vax Viking, and now Maximus around the final corner, 53.3 through the middle sector. I think he's going to go quicker than Zero across the line. He doesn't. He goes third, 1:15.228, but top 3 separated by 1/10 of a second, top 5 separated by 3/10 of a second.
Yeah, that is extremely close out there, very competitive at the top of the field at the moment. We'll see if that keeps up as we get into the second half now here in this qualifying session. Who we got? We got Silas just coming round to begin a flying lap in that Alfa Romeo. I think we've got Nelson in the McLaren now. He's 4/10 down on the lap and doesn't improve. I think now he's going to pick it up now using more ERS now in the hot lap mode's going to keep going on. So we've not got anyone really near the end of a flyer at the moment, so we're at a bit of a quiet stage. 7 minutes to go and Zero holds that provisional pole. Brilliant lap, but we saw Invictus was set that lap time very early on in the session. The McLaren driver is on a flyer right now, and I'm just going to track him through that middle sector, 2/10 up, so he might be able to improve. Let's see it there with just a handful of corners to go. Can he jump to the top in this session?
Theoretically, he's on for 14.9 currently, but through that final sector, he had an overcorrection coming through turn 14, so Invictus will be very interesting to see. He carries the third gear this time around. Now Invictus coming across the line, this is inevitably going to be quicker. 14.7 finds nearly another 2/10 of a second outside of that. Jeffrey, though, goes quicker in behind. 14.4, how's that for a response from Jeffrey? He goes 3/10 quicker than Invictus, and you know what? That might take a lot of beating.
That was superb and so unexpected. Jeffrey goes right to the top there trying to reignite his championship. He's got Nilsson's out of the session, has crashed just going towards that final corner in the McLaren. I'm on board with Sammy King trying to investigate that. It looks like he just spun up the rear tyres, went spearing off into the wall, and the McLaren driver, who wasn't higher up the timesheets at all even then, is going to start no higher than 9th. That is a huge disappointment and a disaster for the McLaren man.
It is a disaster for Nilsson. Obviously, 16.2, he could have improved on that lap, but no improvement to be found. I think, to be honest, he would have got caught in the inside curve, has tried to fight the car, and inevitably ended up going in the wall on the left-hand side. Tekken on a lap, by the way, across the line, goes 7th. He's on a set of medium compounded tyres, 15.5. Inevitably, he's going to go a hell of a lot quicker than that. We've got Parcells on a lap coming around the final 2 corners, but he, again, has invalidated, not picking up the best sort of lap times out on track, the Belgian, as he now comes around the final corner with just over 5 minutes left. Jeffrey leads, Invictus second, Rock City third, 0-4. Maximus rounding off your top 5. It's been quite a nice qualifying session, though, to be honest. Everyone just going about their own business out on track. And Jeffrey's lap, 14.4. Do you know what? I think nobody will improve on that.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that it will be improved, because I think that still Tekken has a lot more time in hand. He's had a rough qualifying session so far, but you cannot discount championship leader, but we will see. A 14.4 by all accounts is a very, very fast lap time, particularly in Division 5, and I'm sure that is going to be a tough mark for anyone on the grid to chase, but I don't think it's completely out of reach. We will see. Is what you're watching there?
Yeah, Zero just coming through turn 5. That was 1,000th down through the first sector. That's what I was going like that for. 0-4, 4th position currently, 15.1. He was getting a little bit of tow actually down the straight from his teammate. You can see Nellis just in behind, so the two AlphaTauris thinking they're in a race rather than in a qualifying session as he comes through now through the middle sector. 0 through the middle. Oh, 53.2. This is not too bad actually through the middle sector. If he improves ahead of this, he's going to go ahead of Invictus, I think. He'll go second as now Zero hits turn 13. 180-degree hairpin as he now comes through that corner. Now down towards turn 14. He could have went into the pit lane now with 4 minutes to go. He might only get one chance at another lap, but Zero around the final corner will go second and only 0.2 of a second off Jeffrey. And Nellis actually goes 5th as well. So both AlphaTauris improving on their laps. And Nellis, I think, found at least a second improvement on that lap as well.
Yeah, very impressive from Nellis moving up into the mix in this quali session just now. We've still got 3 drivers that haven't put a lap time lap time down yet, and we are getting towards the business end here in this session, so the pressure is beginning to mount, and these drivers need to make it count. Now, what's very interesting here, Jeffrey Paul's got Maze out the session now, and I think he's actually retired. The pit lane has got a car off. I think that was Red Bull of Invictus potentially struggling a little bit. He is on an out lap and needs to improve on that sixth position. We'll see now as Ken, what's the O?
Yeah, Silas has ran through turn 5. Sorry to cut in there. Silas ran through turn 5. He was on an out lap, luckily, but that car, I think he's got front wing damage, if I'm not mistaken, on that left side end plate. In fact, actually, he's came off quite light. He hasn't got any damage at all. It's just the tyres.
Yeah, so he has caught a little bit of a break now. He's going to have to try and grab that opportunity with both hands to move forward there. Now, looking, I think the only driver that's considerably on a flying lap at the moment is Satmy King. Anna Williams now heads it around turn 9. He's going to pick up that throttle pedal. We'll see if the Williams man is able to get into the mix. Now through the fantastic turn 11, carry as much speed as you can. He's about 7 or so tenths down on some of the top marks, so we'll see where that's going to put maybe in the regions of Vax Viking is my prediction. So comfortably within that top 10. Now Hooks is in there. Got to be careful that curve on the inside of turn 13. Now into 14. You'll get as tight a line as you can, then open it up on the throttle on the exit. DRS is active and it's only 10th position, so not quite what I was expecting there. But maybe if he's knocked out of that, we'll have free choice of tyre for the race, and that will really assess the strategy for the Williams there. So 10th place, we'll see if it holds out through the last 2 minutes here in qualifying.
Saw the yellow flags in middle sector as well. That was for Maximus. Maximus had spun through turn 5 and has got right side end plate damage. So I don't think, actually, that car has just fixed itself.
Well, that's rather...
It's fixed. I can only explain is that it's fixed his
he's
end
coming
damage.
in.
He is coming into the pits. I definitely saw right side end plate damage on that car about 20 seconds ago.
Oh, Silas! I just caught that coming out of turn 11 and yeah, so he must have snapped it. And that Alfa Romeo is completely in the firing line, right in the middle of the track, so hopefully it gets cleared. But yeah, that was a heavy impact there, just snapped the rear end coming off of 11. Of course, at such high speed, went into the wall, and that car is out. We now have 4 drivers out the session. The other drivers having to weave around that. They're taking evasive action, might hold them back if they're on a flyer, but we've got a lot of drivers on out laps there. We're into the last minute before they can kick off on flying laps, so we will see who will get up to the front there. The fight for pole position is about to get underway.
And Jeffrey will be the first to set another lap as he comes around the final corner. He invalidated, but he now goes on to a clean lap. So Jeffrey now running down the straight, down towards turn 1. He is our current pole setter, 14.4 on his time currently. Let's see what he can do with just 30 seconds left as Nellis has retired in the pit lane there, as now Jeffrey runs down towards turn 1. I think he's got Tekken behind him out on track, so it's going to be really intriguing to see if Tekken improves on that set of softs I'm presuming he is on. Jeffrey now through the first sector. Satmy King retires in the pit lane, 500s up from Jeffrey. Good first sector. He now needs to carry this on through the rest of the lap as he now comes through turn 5. Now up the chicane towards 6 and 7. Up the chicane towards 6 and 7, that doesn't make sense. Jeffrey now coming through turn 8 and then through turn 9 once again. I'm really going as there's a Haas round through the middle sector. I think that's Rock City, if I'm not mistaken, through turn 5. That has retired either out on track. Jeffrey is a 10th up. Still with that moment coming through turn 11. Fantastic lap so far from Jeffrey. Really need to find the middle sector at the final sector because the final sector was so consistent. He found 0.2 of a second last time around, really fighting the car. The car looks a little bit unstable for my liking, but he's now coming around the final 2 corners out on track. He's ran out of ERS but comes across the line. Jeffrey, he does improve, 14.2, but Tekken, what's he doing? Out on a lap, he goes third, 14.6, no improvement from him. Invictus ran the final corner, only improving by 600ths of a second across the line. He goes fourth, good improvement from him. Rock City is not improving. Vax Viking goes sixth, 15 flat, and Zero I think is the only one. He's 3/10 up. Zero can do this. He needs to find another 10th of a second to get this. Zero now round the final corner. This is last gasp stop here from Zero. Round the final corner he comes. Is he going to beat Jeffrey to the line? No, he doesn't. He lost the time in the final sector, 14.4. And Jeffrey, in the end, is on pole by more than 2.5 tenths, which I think is more comfortable than what he would have imagined with 3 tenths up in that middle sector.
Yeah, Zero had a bit of an oversteer moment coming off the penultimate corner, and that just did it for him, was unable to touch him there. But Jeffrey, wow, that lap I watched on board was so committed, and there was a few mistakes along the way. But in the end, just the level of apex speed that he carried made up for it, and that is a comfortable, in the end, pole position of about a quarter of a second ahead of Zero, who does get himself up on that front row. And we do have Tekken in third place, not bad, but Maximus all the way down in 8th after that mistake, after that front wing damage, has a lot of work to do for the Red Bull. So Tekken won't be too displeased with that, but that is going to be a bit of a psychological blow, because Jeffrey, what a lap. The pace that he's shown is absolutely remarkable, and a 14.2 is going to be quite a bit of an impression on the rest of the field. So watch out for that Mercedes, who could be really on for something here tonight.
Did he set pole position in Austria last week as well?
I'm unsure. I do think he was up there.
He was
sure.
up there. I'm sure he set pole position by about that gap last week, if I'm not mistaken, or it was the week before. I'm not sure, but Jeffrey certainly out on top again. I think he's taking the advantage of Tekken's misdemeanors really out on track. Obviously went on a set of intermediate intermediate tyres when it's dry. I'm not sure what he was thinking with that, unless he was trying to tell us something. He's in third, Zero in second, and Jeffrey first. Maximus, though, down in 8th position out on track. 15.2, 500ths behind Nellis on that 4th row of the grid. Will his race pace make up for it?
Well, we'll see, but I don't think that's particularly representative, because we did see quite a lot of mistakes from Maximus throughout that session. I don't think that lap time was particularly late throughout either. So I think that he still has more to improve. I'll run you through the qualifying order. It's an all-Dutch affair in the front row, with Jeffrey ahead of 0, 2.5 tenths is the gap. And we've got all British second row Tekken and Invictus, and an all-Norwegian third row with Rock City and Vax Viking rounding off that. Then we have Nils ahead of Maximus, ahead of Silence, ahead of Zapmi King. That is your top 10 with no free choice of tyres. Then Nilsson and Passels, who set times not quick enough to get in the top 10, they have free choices as well. Jebby Storm and Maze, who weren't able to get times down during the session. I think Jebby Storm didn't go out on track, so I'm not sure if there was potentially some sort of penalty that was served. But anyway, that is going to be it for qualifying, and now we head towards the all-significant race. So the track we're overtaking can be very difficult. We could see that qualifying grid being very, very important there. It looks like it's going to stay dry for us here today, which I'm sure is going to be a relief for those near the front of the grid. So looking forward to this one. Jeffrey it is on that pole position. We'll see if that's going to maintain after 35 laps here at the Hungary ring.
I don't think it's my eyesight, by the way, but I can see a set of hard compound of tyres in Jeffrey's pit garage. And he qualified on softs.
Well, we will see. That is maybe just tyres in reserve for the race. We will see, of course, as we cut towards it in about 20 seconds at time. So very much looking forward to this one, James. Of course, the last race in Austria, which was, of course, my first commentary in the league, was absolutely superb, incredibly action-packed. And if this race is anywhere near that, well, we're going to have a great time here tonight. So we're getting ready. And, yeah, James, really looking forward to this one. Of course, Jeffrey on pole position. An outside bet for the championship. This race could be so important if he wants any chance of getting in.
Yeah, there was the predicted pit stop strategy. Lap 1, softs, 1 stop, lap 7 to 9. I didn't quite catch the bottom because I fuddled my way through the pit stop strategy there. But Jeffrey on pole position once again here tonight. He always has a good consistency, I think, within qualifying to really set a good lap out on track. We've got 0 second, Tekken and third. Looking further down the rest of the field, though, 50-50 split for 11th to 14th. Passels and Jibby Storm mediums, Maze, Nilsson hards. What is the best strategy to be on around here? Surely a one-stop softs to hards, I'm thinking?
Yeah, but of course the degradation will pick up. So I think on the race, the guys on the mediums may be a little bit quicker going throughout the first stint. We will see, of course, how these soft tyres hold up in comparison. It can be rather inconsistent on this game. We'll see if on at this track they hold up nicely. Of course, the hard runners, it's going to be standard, usual things for them, really. Just need to keep out of trouble, avoid getting damaged, particularly on the first lap, where it can at times get a little bit messy down there, particularly at a track like Hungary. It can get very, very difficult to avoid them with the track being so narrow and so tight. So we'll see, of course, then. Of course, this track is known as Monaco without the barriers, so that just tells you how technical it is. But yeah, watch out for those guys outside the top 10. If they can make any sort of impression and use their strategy to move up later on in the race.
Yeah, if they make the inroads, it'll probably be around lap 5, lap 6, where the soft compound tyres do tend to degrade from out on track. Certainly those in the top 10 will be wary of that, I think, in terms of tyre management. We've got the final couple of cars, though, coming around the final couple of corners. Top 3 prediction, who are you going for?
I'm going to go with Zero winning the race, I think. I think that he's going... I think we saw the race pace that he showed last time out in Austria could shine through here today. Second, I'm going to say Tekken just for kind of experience and, you know, being always up at the front of the grid. Then third, I'm going to say Rock City, I think, is the driver that's impressed me so far. Jeffrey, of course, can certainly mount a challenge with that quali pace. We'll see as we get ready. Seconds away from the Hungarian Grand Prix.
5 red lights about to go out here for Division 5. It is round 7 of the championship. Lights out and away we go. Good start by Zero. Gets a really good jump and a really good launch. And he could be actually side by side with Jeffrey running down towards turn 1. Good start by Tekken as well, who would have been my prediction for the race. Went down towards turn 1. Even though their goals so they will still make contact. And Jeffrey is through, clean through turn 1. And everyone else is clean through turn 1 as well. We've got side by side 2 by 2 with Invictus going around the outside of Tekken. Trying to go around this for 4th position. He's certainly got Rock City done around the outside. So Invictus through and he's up into 4th early. Nellis is right on the back of Axe Viking as well, further down the field, and side by side actually between, I think that is Nilsson and Passel's going side by side as Nilsson is forced off track slightly there by Passel's 2 into 1. Really does not go. Maximus is trying to make light work of Sapmi King down into the chicane. Can the Red Bull get the move done? No, he sits tight and sits behind Sapmi King for now. He's lost positions. Jippy Storm though, great start. He is up to 8th place early after a little bit of contact further down the field, but Jeffrey leads 7/10 of a second. 0 second. Nellis and Jippy Storm are side by side, and Nellis has got around the outside. And I think that was quite close to contact, judging by Dan's reaction there. As now Sapmi King and Maximus are side by side. Maximus gets the job done on Sapmi King, so he's now through and he's up to 10th. Passel's trying to go around the outside as well. Very clean start by the majority of the field. I see Jippy Storm, I think, coming into the pits though. No, actually, it's Nellis into the pit lane, and actually he's crashed into the pit lane. Nellis has crashed into the pit wall. And I'm not sure what on earth's happened there, but Jeffrey leads, 0 second, Tekken 3rd, and my timings have glitched slightly.
Yeah, I might have as well, but yeah, Nellis, that is just disastrous for the AlphaTauri. Now praying for a safety car out there, I imagine. But yeah, for the most part, a very nice and clean start out there. I was surprised actually how well they all navigated the first few corners, but Jeffrey got away nicely at the front as it begins to settle down out there, and they begin to run into the rhythm. As Invictus though was looking very, as I think that was maybe Tekken getting a little bit of a slide on that caught your eye there in that racing point. He did definitely play with the rear end. He's got Maximus as well after a poor start is looking at Silas, who runs away going through turn 7, and then Maximus towards the inside. No, thanks better that one there. You do not want to be battling too hard through this section, but the Alfa Romeo is really struggling. Maximus looks to the outside towards the rear end. The Alfa's all over the place, and Maximus through on the inside, puts on the overtake and is through up in 8th place out there. Silas was offline. It almost runs into the back of the Red Bull. Got to watch out there, but Silas got out of shape, and that's the thing with that middle sector. As soon as you get offline through one of the corners there, the rest of it is so hard to get back, and we saw Maximus take advantage of moving up into 8th after a poor start. He's now back where he started. Yeah, really the race is split in half. Jippy Storm's been holding everyone up further down the field, but Maximus has got through on Silas. That moment, by the way, that I went at was Silas having a bit of a moment coming out of turn 9. So Silas being still in 9th. Passos went very deep there. Nilsson could have a run down in towards turn 1, but everyone looking quite good. It's 7/10 of a second the gap. Jeffrey leading from 0 in second. Top 3 have remained as they are. In fact, the top 6 have remained as they are, and Jippy Storm has gained 6 positions out on track from the start of this race. From 13th on the grid, he is up into 7th position out on track as they fly through turn 5 further down the field.
as I try and negotiate. Oh, and there's a Williams into the wall. That's Sapmi King.
Oh.
Sapmi King must have got caught on the inside curb. And now Sapmi King is round. He's lost vital end plate damage. He's going to have to cut across the chicane. Just saw that. Just saw a car peeking over the barrier. And Sapmi King round. And he's out. Pretty much a contention now.
Yeah, that is an absolute disaster yet again.
Oh!
The one's got Maximus rounding outside of Jimmy Storm. Where did that come from? That is unbelievable. And, well, the Red Bull putting on an overtaking showcase out there, showing his pedigree, showing that he is still in this championship fight. That is incredible. Jimmy Storm, after that fantastic start, unable to quite move through. Maximus has made that move stick there. That was superb. Now we've got Passes now on the back of Silas, looking down towards turn 1 there. The Alfa Romeo defends it. It's like Rowdy. It goes Passes very, very late on the brakes. Can Renault get that one? He's going to get better traction on the exit, surely. And they are wheel to wheel. When he runs away, he gets a penalty. But Silas is going to just get his nose in front, holding on to that 9th place out there. Tremendous battling out there. I'm still getting over that manoeuvre for Maximus. That was superb. We still have the top 6 with their DRS of each other. Very even out there, very competitive. And we got battles galore. Lower down the field, Maximus moving up. Silas on the defensive. It is superb down there. They're great battling here on lap 4.
Yeah, Maximus just sailed it around the outside of Jimmy Storm. It was perfect commentary as well from you, Dan. I called it right at the moment of the overtake, which was fantastic. And Maximus got that job done and has sailed away from Jimmy Storm. But what he's got to be careful of now, Maximus, is those tyres. Those tyres are going to begin to wear out from about this point on in the race. And Jimmy Storm is staying with him. 9/10 of a second, the gap is staying there. Nilsson is on the back of Mays. Mays struggling on a set of hard compound tyres, but has gained a couple of positions from the start, which is good to see. And Nilsson is the one that is struggling. Nellis has jumped Sapmi King also out the pit lane as Nilsson gets very sideways coming out of turn 13. But three-way battle possibly running down the straight. This is for 9th. Silas, Passelt and Mays. Now it looks like Passelt are going to go side by side and in fact just says goodbye to the Alfa Romeo. And so does Mays actually down the inside. Silas trying to cut across. Oh, and this contact. Silas into the back of Passelt. And to be honest, that's what he gets for moving across on Mays, I think.
Yeah, but that's so unfortunate for Passelt, who was just a bit of a bystander in that, then had cleared the train on the mediums, and that is absolutely disastrous for the Renault. He's got to try and move up Silas with definite front wing damage now. Passelt's going to sail past on the entry towards turn 4. Silas has no choice but to back off there. Disaster for both their races after that incident. Their front wing damage for Silas and a half spin for Passelt, and the Renault and the Alfa Romeo respectively going to have to try and work their way past. But particularly for Silas with that wing damage, that is a long way back and getting a penalty there. That's a horrible turn of events for the Alfa Romeo.
It is. It's so unfortunate, I think, for the incident. Obviously, the stewards will investigate that one, but it almost looked to me, it was a terrible camera angle, I've got to say, but it almost looked to me, Silas was trying to fend off Mays. Zero was into the pits from second, by the way. I'll cut that in just a second. But Passelt certainly was the meat in the sandwich, basically. Mays was trying to go for the move. He had the move nearly done down in towards turn 1. Silas just moved across, I think, on Mays' line. Possibly a penalty coming his way. As Invictus and Tekken are side by side, coming down towards turn 2. I think this was what you were going to cut in for. And Invictus trying to go all the way around the outside. It is a move that was favourable in Division 2, and it is now in Division 5. Invictus is through, and he's up into second position. Fantastic stuff there by the Brit on his fellow countrymen as well. But Invictus through, and he's up into second. But now, how costly is this battle going to be? Because Jeffrey's now 2 seconds clear.
And we'll see, of course, how the undercut from Zero works out. But that was superb from Invictus. We've seen a bit of a variety of around the outside overtakes already here tonight. Silas into the pits as well to repair that front wing. Is going to hope for a safety car, I assume, at this point. But yeah, Invictus goes through, and Tekken is really struggling out there. I think that the Racing Point driver has potentially taken a lot out of his tyres. That the championship leader is sliding everywhere at the moment, really struggling to tame that car. And Izzy with dead tyres, maybe going to try and cover off Zero's undercut. We'll see how the leaders go about it there. Jeffrey, Invictus out, and taken predictably into the pits here on lap 6.
Yeah, blistering occurring on that front left tyre, which really doesn't take the most impact around here at Hungary. But that front left is definitely blistered to the point where those tyres are going to be going completely off the cliff. And Tekken now into the pit lane, the championship leader. Set a hard compound of tyres. Now, I said this in Division 2. I said that 28-lap-old hards were not going to get done. It's the same principle for Tekken. Those tyres are going to be, what, 85% by the end of the race?
And one thing to point out is Zero has jumped them. Zero has opted for the mediums, as has Maximus behind. So that tells me immediately they are committed to a two-stop strategy here at Hungary. So we'll see if they can make the most of that here. But what's going to happen is that they're going to have a lot of traffic in their way, and overtaking around this track is very, very difficult. It may be a theoretically faster strategy, we will see. But the sheer difficulty of overtaking. We've got Spinner!
Invictus is round through turn 9. Unbelievable stuff. I just thought on board him because he was catching Jeffrey at the point. And now Invictus got caught on the curb, I think that was. Just overpowered it out the corner, out of the race. Invictus now no longer in second position. And now that will open up a whole load of can of worms. Certainly for Zero, but certainly also for Maximus in behind. And now that you would have thought that was a safety car, it's not. The car has been cleared. So no safety car in operation. Jeffrey, though, into the pits as well as Rock City. Rock City has picked up a 5-second penalty for speeding into the pit lane. It looked quite minute, I think. I saw that in the background of shot. But Jeffrey now is going to be coming out. Where is Zero? Zero's at the final corner. Jeffrey's going to be in a gaggle of cars, I think. It's going to be quite close, you know, between Jeffrey and Zero. Coming out the down towards turn 1. There is Zero. There is Jeffrey. Pretty much side by side coming out of turn 1. And Jeffrey, I think, is just going to be out in front of Izzy. Zero forced off track. Jeffrey on cold tyres, just having to find the traction. And now Zero on the inside line, and Zero actually lets him go. Zero lets him go, and Jeffrey is technically now in the net lead of the race. But Tekken's right on the back of this as well. 3 separated by less than a second.
Zero, no way! Zero going to go right into the turn 4 and just pulled it off before they even reach the apex. Wow! He does get a penalty in the process. That's going to be very unfortunate, but that again, a superb overtake here at Hungary. Through goes Zero, and now on the back of Pazos, who's yet to make that pit stop. So a critical point now in this battle for the net race lead. A lot of traffic in the way, but Zero, using that overtake, very opportunistic, saw the opportunity, went through, and on faster medium tires, critical manoeuvre, gets a bit of oversteer. Going through turn 11, it's got to try and tame that as Tekken's looking very feisty now on the back of Jeffrey. We'll see how that battle unfolds between two championship contenders, but Zero goes through. That was incredible. And now up in the 5th place, and now has to absolutely fly on those mediums. It was critical to get through. Now he's got to make the most of it if he wants any chance of coming out on top here today.
Oh, very wide out the final corner there, Zero as well. But that could have came quite costly, to be honest, for Zero, because he ran out of ERS on that lap. And that's why I think he got the overtake done as easily as what he did, because that closing speed up towards turn 4 was certainly something that we haven't seen before, even if that car was running DRS. Here comes Tekken down the inside of Jeffrey. Jeffrey turns in slightly. Tekken on the outside line. Jeffrey stays in, in a net second, but he's in 6th position for now. But Tekken is going to try and go for a gap. Zero's going to go for a gap as well on passive, which really isn't that. Tekken gets caught on the curb and loses a hell of a lot of time to the back of Jeffrey. But that could be quite good, because he's now in a bit of clear air.
And now Zero hunting all over the back of Pastilles. The Renault waving, probably looking at both his left and right mirrors, is just about able to stay ahead, and this is holding back Zero. He wants to make a gap on those mediums and currently can't do it at the moment. Frustrated behind the Renault. Now to turn 11, as the gap can open up, it gets much better race. Speed is going to go to the inside, and I think the move may be done. We're in at turn 12. Passes is late on the brakes, but there's going to be a little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact at Zero. Just been able to get through ahead of the Renault. Now it's up to Jeffrey. Tekken there, swarming over the rear end there. Zero runs very wide, and he's drained his ERS resources to make these overtakes done. They've been superb overtakes, but how costly does that mean? Jeffrey is almost 100%, and now he's going to try and use that to close out a Passos, but he does have a lot of straight line speed, and it's going to come back. Right into Zero, and through the middle goes Jeffrey. He's just been able to do that cleanly. Jeffrey, wow, that was one of the most ambitious moves I've ever seen. And now Tekken is around the inside of Passos. Breaks very, very late at Racing Point. Can he pull that one off? Round the outside, get better traction on exit, and he is through. Up in the 6th place. Passos looks back, tries to get up alongside him, but I don't think it's going to come through there. Championship leader cuts his way in front. That was one of the most outrageous manoeuvres I've seen ever from Jeffrey, but he made it work up behind Zero, and how on earth are they also pointed in the right direction?
Even better so, I was riding on board with TV Pod with that as well, and my god, it was like the parting of the Red Sea in Formula 1. That's as best as I could describe that. I honestly thought he was going to get both of them down into turn 1, but my god, Jeffrey has pulled off a worldie of a move. Fantastic stuff. And this is Division 5, remember. This is not Division 1 or Division 2. This is Division 5. So these guys deserve a lot more credit for these overtakes that they're producing. Rock City, however, though, is the one I think that has gained the most out of this. He's on the back of Passels. He will try and get the overtake done. Bax Viking has also gained because of Passels honing up everyone pretty much. And that brings Rock City and Bax Viking, I think, into contention as soon as they get rid of Passels. And I think Rock City going to try and have a go down the inside. He's not, but my goodness me, we're in for an absolute treat towards the second half of the race. Jibby Storm leads Mays in second, Nilsson third. They're still yet to come into the pit lane. Zero is in fourth, and he's currently 6 tenths ahead of Jeffrey for the net race lead out on track. Passels the only other car as well out on track as well as the top 3 who hasn't pitted.
And now as Passels picks up a penalty, the interesting dynamic now is we now have 2 cars that have pitted, both the hard runners in this race, Mays and Nilsson, now heading up a pack of the net race leaders. And this is helping Jibby Storm actually up in the front to really stretch his legs. As you mentioned, some of the guys on the hard tyres that pitted a few laps ago, they're going to be very limited when trying to take those to the end of the race as Nella picks up a penalty. I have seen Jeffrey pick up a penalty, by the way, and also Rock City. I haven't seen that particularly from other leading contenders, so keep an eye on that with the field. Still so close out there, but of course Zero has to try and clear these guys as quickly as he can. Mays leads Nielsen, leads Zero, but that order is going to have to change for the AlphaTauri driver. Net race leader needs to get on with it. Mays out of Nielsen, does the McLaren fight back? Passels is into the pits finally on lap 11. Does Nielsen go for any sort of manoeuvres? He's close to the back of the Mercedes. Looks to the inside, is going to go for it very late on the brakes. Just against that one, stop there, don't come together. And now, can Zero take advantage? There was a snap from the rear end of the McLaren, and through goes Zero, through goes Jeffrey as well. Looks towards the inside, and Tekken's right there as well. Onto the brakes, they all go for turn 2. Jeffrey claims the inside line, is going to get ahead, and through on the McLaren. Can Tekken fight anyway through? I don't think he's going to have the momentum. Has to set back just for the time being, so Nilsson loses out. Jeffrey back on the back of Zero. He's making quick progress on that Mercedes and is looking good out there, getting very close to the back of the AlphaTauri, putting pressure on, but now it's Mace at the head of the field, and 2 net Mercedes hunting him down. Is taken down the inside of Nilsson. Gets moved up, picks up a penalty though on the exit. It's an absolutely thrilling display of overtaking out there on track, I have to say. James, please take over for a moment. I'm a bit out of breath after that. We are seeing some stunning racing out there.
Overtaking fest, I think we can call it here in Division 5 tonight around Hungary. And who said Hungary wasn't built for overtaking? Yeah, nobody said that. Nobody said overtaking would be done around this track. But we can prove you wrong here tonight in Division 5. Jibby Storm into the pits from the lead of the race. Zero, though, interesting fact, he ran out of ERS once again. He was running at half power, running through the first 2 turns, and now he's on the back of Zero. But look, sorry, he's on the back of Mays, I should say, for the lead of the race now. But look, he's saving up that ERS, and now Jeffrey's going to go down the inside. That is late, but it's bold, and he pulls it off. That is brilliant from Jeffrey, and now Tekken forcing Jeffrey forcing Zero off track. Now brings Tekken into play, trying to go around the outside through turn 2. Nilsson is still in there. Rock City and Bax Viking have now joined the pack. Tekken down on the inside line, getting Zero, forces them off track slightly. It's still side by side running up the hill. Tekken and Zero round the outside. Brilliant stuff by Tekken, very similar to what we saw with Callboy last night in Division 2. Tekken is through and he's up into 3rd position. Zero's going to try and have a go, but it is not good enough. Tekken through and he's up to 3rd, and that begs into question actually, are the hards beginning to come into play earlier than expected?
Yeah, Zero hasn't really looked to have any sort of pace advantage. His team was caught napping there. That was such a late move from Jeffrey, but just about fair. And Tekken, my oh my, he had to fight for that one, but made it work. Around the outside of turn 2 and then turn 4. Superb out there on the overtaking fest. Here the Hungary ring continues, and emphatically, Mays still stays out in the lead. Now has his teammates swarming all over him though, and I don't think he's going to maintain that. Jeffrey is 95% on the RS. They're a superb job of managing that, and is he now going to go for another ambitious move? Close it down, and his teammate's going to pull to the inside early though. Onto the brakes on turn 1. Mays tries to hold it out, but to no avail. Through goes Jeffrey, and Tekken now looking onto the back of him now. The DRS does not come into play for Mays, but I think he will just about stay ahead of the championship leader. So Jeffrey has put a car between himself and the chasing pack critically. A series of superb overtakes has moved Jeffrey into a stellar position out in this race. Tekken has to get through. They both have 3-second penalties. So Tekken now have to get through the teammate of the race leader now. That's going to be a lot of work for the Racing Point. Jeffrey out to lead and is already pulling away. 9-10's clear now.
Yeah, I was just going to say, actually, the top 8 out on track are pretty much all running in a train, and they're separated by less than 4 seconds. Just thought I'd mention that. We are only 2/5 of the way through this race. We're about to go on to lap 15. Jeffrey leads, but big news for the constructors as well. Racing Point have got, obviously, Jibby, Storm and Tekken in the race. They're 3rd and 9th, but Jeffrey and Maze, interestingly, are 1st and 2nd. Ooh. Jeffrey picks up a 3-second time penalty coming through turn 12, but now Tekken, Shooty is going to try and get the move done on Maze, but Maze, I think, later on in the race, he's going to be one to watch, yes, further down the field, but he's going to be on a set of medium compound of tyres, which is going to be really bold. And now, speaking of the easiest overtake all night that you will see, Tekken gets the move done down the inside. He should get the move done. He has got the move done. He's through. Rock City very late on Nilsson, and Maximus on Vax Viking as well. 2x2 as they run down towards, and Nilsson's going to be caught out. Maximus around the outside. Oh, Nilsson forces them off track slightly. Got to be cleaner than that. Maximus is still out on the inside line, turning a negative into a positive. No, Vax Viking's going to have a go. Maximus now up the hill. Maximus really struggling for traction. Vax Viking just decides, you know what, I'm backing off this.
Rock City, that was from so far back, and he actually cut the inside of the track, got a penalty, I believe. But why, oh my, and Nilsson was not pleased with that at all there. Maximus was on the receiving end, trying to make these mediums work, needs to make overtakes now to stay in the championship fight, and it's not happening at the moment. Right now, he needs to hope that the hard runners can't get to the end of the race on those tyres. If they can't, then it could play into his hands, but we will see. Zero may not be out of this one just yet either, still sits on the rear end of TTG Maze. I'm suspecting that that overtake may come through very, very soon. Maze really struggling now to keep up that advantage. We now go around to start lap 16 now. We're getting towards the second half of this race, and it's the fastest lap from Tech, and he's trying to bear down on Jeffrey. Zero, another easy move. Danny inside is going to be on TTG Maze. Moves through and moves up now. Up in the 3rd place, going to try and get back to those 2 race leaders, as now Maximus, can he get up to Nilsson, who still has that DRS from Rock City, keeping him ahead of the game, and Maximus at the moment is pegged back. He can't make overtakes with the DRS trains forming throughout the field, so at the moment on those mediums theoretically should be quicker, but struggling to make overtakes as without a DRS advantage. Getting through this track is still very, very difficult.
Same story, I think, as well from Zero. Zero's just got out into the clean air, and he's purple in the 1st sector on Tekken's fastest lap, which he set last lap around. Zero, though, in 3rd. But I've got to be honest, his manual use of ERS is really concerning me. He is trying to use up his ERS at points of the track where he doesn't need to. He should just save up the ERS. There's a fantastic helicopter cam that I'm riding a ball with him. I've never seen this camera angle before, but that was brilliant. Zero through, and he's still in P3. Mason 4th, Rock City 5th, as you say, went from a mile back down in towards turn 1. It's a shame my camera angles weren't as good as the action out on track. But Maximus is now on the back of Nilsson, and Nilsson's sticking on in there, I think. He's on a set of hard compound of tyres, 15 laps old on those tyres, still yet to come into the pits. But because he's in a DRS train, longer term, he is going to be fighting with Maze, possibly, as Rock City tried to have a look at Maze, didn't quite get the move done through turn 1, and Rock City spun! Rock City spun out of turn 1, he's kept it at the wall, luckily, just so that he overcommitted on the power, and Rock City now down into 8th position. So what I was saying there, Maze and Nilsson is now going to be a fight longer term, as now Maximus tries to fight through on Nilsson.
And now sitting on the rear end of the McLaren, but there's no way through at the moment, going into turn 4. Dirty air, fancy it, but that doesn't seem to be holding him back much. Still sitting very, very close as Nilsson gets out of shape. And in turn 5, this is Maximus' chance. Looks towards that inside line, but doesn't commit on the brakes, does not want to throw in anything too unrealistic, and Jeffrey picks up another time penalty at the moment. If Tekken could just stay in the DRS, which he's doing at the moment, it's enough to bring home the 30 points and get another race win towards that championship lead, which is growing by the second, as it seems, at the moment out there. Just going from strength to strength as Tekken looked a little bit weak at the beginning of this race, but now really coming to form and Jeffrey is the man under pressure now. Zero is catching both of them now in the medium, so he's managed to get those switched on again, and is charging, but we'll look a little bit further back, as I think we could have a few cars converging on each other as we go onto the main straight. Nilsson has still got DRS off of Mays, and is hanging on in there. Maximus cannot get through still. Silas picks up another penalty. Maximus not close enough yet again. He really needs to rely on a mistake from the McLaren now. Nilsson is doing an admirable job of staying with the cars ahead and not giving the likes of Maximus and backspiking behind any chance of getting through here.
Yeah, Nilsson driving really well, I think. Obviously, he's on the back of Mays.
No!
Oh, and actually, just as soon as I say that, he's gone through turn 2. I didn't quite see that. What happened?
He just spun up the rear tyres, got a bit too eager on the throttle, and well, that's the commentator's curse if I've ever seen one. Wow, that's so unlucky for Nilsson. He has had a few close calls I've seen with oversteer moments, but that was the biggest one of the lot. I'm not sure if he managed to keep out of the wall. I'm trying to scan for potential front wing damage, and he did, so he's still in this one. Just managed to save it, and is still in the back of this train. Nilsson doing an admirable job, but this is putting out of contention with Mays, and now Maximus finally has a bit of a clear run ahead of him. Just has Mays to try and navigate. He's got a little bit of ground to make up on the Mercedes that also has slightly more ERS than him, but is Mays going to go into the pits as we get a little bit further on this race? No, he's going to stay out, and this is frustrating Maximus even further. The gap to the leaders is continuing to extend. We're on to the main straight yet again. Now on to lap 19 here at the Hungaroring. Does Maximus go for it? He's closing down on Mays, but he's run out of that ERS deployment and cannot get onto the back of him. He's now got Roxette going almost into the back of him. I'm not sure I think what he catched to start that one, but Nilsson and Roxette seem to have almost come together.
I think Nilsson moved across on Rock City to try and defend the move. It's not the first time I've seen that either. Nilsson really needs to calm down the driving out on track. Otherwise, he's going to be landing himself in big trouble. I think we spoke about it in Austria as well. Maximus down the inside line, not going to have a go. And I think, to Maximus's word, fair play for him to not have a go through turn 4, because honestly, it is very difficult to fight Mays at the best of times. But coming through turn 4 in Hungary, it could end up in potential disaster.
We will see now as they head through the middle sector. It's just beginning to spread out the road track. We now have a 6-second gap between the top 3 and the rest of the field. So as Maximus goes around, he overcorrects it, gets a tag slapper, and round goes the Red Bull. He's going to avoid wing damage, I think, but that's huge. Goes spearing off into the wall, luckily hits it with his rear end of the car, and that's going to send it back. So Maximus, a huge moment, and at the moment, it's just not going well for him there. The Pakistani driver really just cannot get it together out there and is struggling now down to 8th, and almost certainly with another pit stop to make. Mays is now in there, but Maximus really struggling out there and just cannot put it all together at the moment.
I'm surprised actually Maximus has not came into the pits. I think honestly 15-16 laps on mediums is maybe all up to optimal time, I think, to be honest. We saw last night in Division 2 some of these guys pitting in 23-24 laps in, so it might be quite interesting to see. So I might be wrong on that front in terms of the mediums, but Mays is out in clear air, and this is exactly what he wants. On goes the set of mediums, 15-16 laps on that set of mediums. I think they'll last quite easy, and he'll be quick as well.
Yeah, and of course now he's got a bit of cars in the sights as we've got Roxette another penalty. But now Mays can go on that charge, and first in his line of sight is going to be Passos. 3 seconds up the road, also on decent tyres, so it may be a bit difficult. As I saw Maximus was off again coming out of turn 5, and that was a bit of a smaller off there, but it went through the grass certainly, and these sort of mistakes just creeping in are beginning to detach him from the group ahead. We're still waiting on Nilsson to come in, who has done a very good job of staying in it. In fact, Viking now runs fairly isolated in 4th place. Zero is now struggling to get with him, has actually come into the pits. So now he's bailed out on those mediums, and now is also going to be a car that's going to charge through a little bit later on to the AlphaTauri, and then the man who I predicted to win this race. Not looking too great at the moment, but if the hard runners struggle, maybe get punctures in the last few laps, it could swing it back. So the top 3, I wouldn't say are completely out of the woods just yet. Keep an eye on that one, because I think they'll still be limited on tyre, where we've got Maximus in as well. So Zero Maximus, new tyres. We'll see where they come out, and we'll see how far they can charge in the final 15 laps here at Hungary.
Zero has came out in the perfect spot you will ever ask for. He is right out behind Jibby Storm, who was going to the end on those tyres. So that's going to be a fight for him first. Maximus is into the pit lane. He's coming out of the pit lane now. He's going to be out right beside Silas, I think just in front of Silas, in 10th position. So it's not too bad. Remember, these guys get the extended point scoring system. Silas will need to come in, obviously, into the pit lane towards the end of the race. But now Maximus can charge. He's made a few mistakes. They've been creeping in, but he can now begin to charge on those tyres. Same with Rock City, actually. Rock City is the one that hasn't been has been caught up in this slightly with Nilsson. He's out fighting again with Nilsson. A tenth of a second off as we go with that beautiful camera angle once again down into turn 12. Tekken into the pits.
So Tekken is completely pulled out then, and this throws it wide open. So now Zero is back in contention, you would think, with this, and he now swerves all over the rear end of the Racing Point. Jimmy Storm, I think this could be close. He was about 1.5 seconds adrift. We'll see if the undercut can play to his advantage. Now, Jimmy Storm, Racing Point, picks up the throttle, coming off the last corner, but I think Zero is going to sail through, and I don't think he's going to get much for a fight. Now, where is Tekken? He's just up the road there. I think he will maintain that race lead. Now with the lap pressure tyres, but Zero is with him. Now with DRS as well, so he's right in this one. Jeffrey could be under threat as well. We'll see if the undercut plays into it. Tekken has maintained it on track. I don't think the hard's going to make it. Can Jeffrey make it out there? He's got about 13.5 laps, or sorry, 12.5 laps left to go between himself and the checkered flag. I think I was right the first time, my apologies. But anyway, yeah, Jeffrey, can he make that work? Potentially, we'll see. If he can, it could throw things wide open. But I suspect the men in 4th and 5th are going to fly. We'll see if that comes to fruition. Tekken 4th, Zero 5th. Now 5 seconds away from Rock City up the road. Jeffrey could be a moment of truth. Does he come in? No, he's not coming off. So that tells me he may be gambling and trying to go to the end. If he pulls that one off, that is a superb piece of tyre management from the Mercedes. But we've seen his ERS management has been incredible so far. We'll see if the tyre management lives up to that credential. We'll see now on to lap 23 here at the Hungaroring as we got all the top 3 staying out. So they may be gambling on this here, as now Tekken is Zero. That's the real story. We saw Tekken charging through the field and grabbing a late great win right at the death. We'll see if that happens here today. 4 seconds to Rock City. He is going to have to fly if he wants to grab another win here.
But Tekken has already closed, and I will say this, about 1.5 seconds already on Rock City in the last lap or so. He's going through the corners at about 2/10 quicker than Rock City. You'll see it through here, through turn 2. There you go, 2/10 gained. And then through turn 3, another 10th gain. So Tekken really beginning to eat into that advantage. You can tell my voice is going, by the way. It is terrible. Nellis is through on Silas. I think Silas and him are actually fighting for 11th position. Nellis makes that one stick. He did come into the pit lane. He's the one we haven't covered actually in the race, in 11th position. 6.2 seconds off Maximus, but he's just keeping himself to himself now, and he can focus on securing that 11th position, I think.
Yeah, we'll see, of course, trying to pull away from Silas, who will be struggling for tires. Surely cannot take those all the way to the end of the race. Passels picks up another time penalty. I'm watching out there because he's now got Mays closing him down out there. And the Mercedes now charging on fresh medium tyres. It's going to get on with things now. He is going to be bearing down. I'm not going to look away from that top 3. They can come any moment. Tekken is gaining by almost 2 seconds a lap now out there. A fastest lap of 17.7. Absolutely flying out there at the moment. And the Racing Point is charging just like it was last week. Now Mays, though, on the back of Passos, who uses the open to get his defence. I don't think he's going to get this one up too easily. Mays, though, is closing up now with DRS. To the inside, it's going to be onto the brakes. Gets that one stopped very nicely, using the extra grip. Up in a 7th place out there. Mays now moves through. 7 seconds playing Jimmy Storm. We'll see if that gap is going to come down in the latter 10-11 laps of this race. Mays is flying through. 7 seconds to make up, as now Tekken on an incredible charge out there. He's pulling away from Zero, getting up towards Rock City now, and a remarkable race. Surely in just a couple of laps time he will be through onto the podium and bearing down on Bax Viking up ahead.
I think honestly Tekken could get him this lap. That's how quick he's going. 0.6 of a second coming through now turn 11 in fact, and now Tekken's only 0.6 away from the back of Rock City. You think he gains 0.2 through the next couple of corners, he's going to be right on the back and possibly pass down towards turn 1. You watch this and you give me a James Head guarantee that this is going to be a job done, because 0.3 of the gap, this is looking inevitable. for Tekken to get past on Rock City. Might not be this lap, but he will certainly have a go. Now down the straight, down towards turn 1, and your James Head guarantee is totally right, because Tekken is through on Rock City, and he's through and he's up into 3rd position. You think the gap was about 21 seconds when he came into the pit lane. The gap now is 15.8. It's just gone under 16 seconds for the first time, but Cloud beginning to build, I think, out on track. The mediums are beginning to come once again into play.
Yeah, and we'll see if that's going to come into account. Now, one thing, surely Tekken, as he actually picks up another penalty now, I think he's got one less still than Jeffrey up in the lead. I've been trying to keep an eye on that, keep tabs on that, but it does mean that he now needs to get within 3 seconds as opposed to 6, so he's made his job just a little bit more difficult, but he is now bearing down on Vax Viking. We will see if he can make that move stick. He's a little bit further back this time. I don't think it's going to happen unless there's a mistake out of the Ferrari. We will see, of course. Another tight battle out on track is Nilsson and Maximus, very similar on tyres and tyre life, so there won't be much in it, but Maximus looking a little bit quicker at this stage and is all over looking for any which way of getting through on the McLaren, but through this middle sector, very, very difficult to find and pick your overtakes. Maximus does pick up a penalty as well. Now Tekken trying to go to back, he may have this one already, you know. He's closing down rapidly on the Ferrari and is going to go for a late lunge down the inside at turn 1. Can he get that one stopped? Get the traction out there and has seen it through. Tekken being absolutely clinical with these overtakes, now through 2 overtakes in 2 laps. Now up in the 2nd place out there on track. Now what a charge, as now we're looking at Nilsson and Maximus. The Red Bull closes, the Red Bull looks to the inside and the Red Bull dives onto the brakes there. Can he get that one stopped? Hooks it tight to the apex and goes through up in the 9th place. We'll have DRS in his defence as well. He is up into 9th now on his defence, as we have yet another time penalty for Jeffrey, and this is just leaving Tekken open to him. I think Tekken may be able to get up to the gap to just under 13 seconds, coming down rapidly as well. I do believe Tekken could well be close enough there with an extra pit stop, could still win this race out there.
Yeah, it is going to be really intriguing to see. I think Jeffrey, it's 12.4 seconds the gap. And bear into mind that this gap is going to come down tenfold, I think, before the end of the race. It's 12.3 seconds now, but what I think Jeffrey has to an advantage is the amount of laps that's left for Tekken on those tyres. Tekken will have done 4 or 5 laps now on those tyres. Jeffrey's 12 seconds ahead. You think the gap, if he closes 1.5 seconds per lap, the tyre wear is going to inevitably come into play. Zero was side by side with Rock City. I think Zero is going to have this one done down in towards turn 1. We've got Maximus through on Passel, who's into the pit lane. So Passel's into the pit lane, possibly for a set of softs and a fastest lap attempt. But Zero through and he's up into 4th. But what I was saying, Tekken is on the back of Jeffrey. That gap, though, is still staying a little bit consistent for my liking. Tekken 12.1 behind Jeffrey, and I know the reason why. Look at his ERS, 15% of ERS. Jeffrey, 87% of ERS. No wonder the gap is not coming down.
Yeah, and that could really be costly for Tekken. I will clarify, he does need to get within 3 seconds as opposed to 6. So there's a lot of work to do still. For the Racing Points, gonna have to get a step on it there. Is gonna have to move through the gap a little under 12 seconds, and we're coming up with 8 laps to go. The clock's ticking, and in the end, you can't turn back time. And at the moment, that is on the side of Jeffrey, who just needs to hold out. We saw from qualifying the amount of sheer 1 lap pace that he has in his locker, and now he's going to use that to as good effect as he can. A few seconds further back, though, we've got Zero on the back of Vax Viking, who comes into the pits. Again, the Ferrari may be a little bit, just a little, and yeah, going to go for softs potentially. But what that means is that he maybe doesn't have the faith that he can take that to the end. So you turn more towards Jeffrey, whose tyres were about the same age, only a lap younger. Can he get those through in the last 7 laps there? It's going to be a real challenge. If he can pull that one off, it'd be remarkable. But that could be where Tekken makes it back. With tyres, I think that Jeffrey may be doing enough at the moment to hold on for the race win. Its gap's only coming down by about a second a lap, which would be enough at the moment for the Mercedes. But if he can't make those tyres, or if they fall off the cliff, it could really swing the pendulum back towards the Racing Point to not go anywhere, because we still have no clue who could win this race. With about 7.5 laps to go, it could still go either way out there.
Everybody has got to think, I think, in terms of theory, Jeffrey will have essentially the gap, if you think about it, with Jeffrey's penalty is 7.7 seconds as he comes through turn 11 there. Salas new fastest lap of the race, 17.665. fastest lap point, of course, available. But Tekken beginning to close in 10.5 seconds the gap. What he's got to do, in theory, is close that gap up to, what, 3.3 seconds? Well, 3 seconds he's got to turn that gap up to. If he's got to gain, essentially, another 7 seconds now on Jeffrey. Nilsson, however, is all under pressure from Vax Viking. On goes for it down the inside. Turn 12. Good move by Vax Viking. That was commitment if I've ever seen it. And Vax Viking is through and he's up into 8th position. In the end, that was quite easy, to be honest.
Yeah, and a part of the track you don't normally see overtakes, although we have seen quite a fair few just for tonight. But we'll see now is over the line now, chasing down, and you've got a lot of VRS in reserve as well to hunt down TG Maximus, who's struggling both on the RS and on field, but they're all wheeling in on Maze as a what's made you go over there?
My TV was going to turn off.
Oh right. Right, so yeah, a little bit peculiar out there. Hopefully it keeps away from that. For the remainder of this Hungarian Grand Prix, but very entertaining. Maybe not quite as action-packed and as relentlessly action-packed as Austria, but still been a very entertaining race. That has offered us a lot of intrigue that is certainly far from over out there. Do not look away at all. We still have a bit of a DRS stream forming behind Maze now. It consists of Maximus, Vax Viking and Nilsson. They are all right there, so we have 4 cars in very close proximity, and Vax Viking is on the attack yet again. We saw the move going into turn 12 last time out, almost into turn 11. Do not go for a move there. That could have gone very, very dangerous, and does have to sit behind the Red Bulls. They all bear down the Mercedes up ahead. They're all converging on each other. Do not look away. That's another battle we're looking out for. Can Vax Viking use the extra grip of these soft tires to get through on championship contender TTG Maximus? They power out the final corner now, and I think he's going to be close enough now. He's going to look towards the inside now as they go parallel. It's a drag race down the straight towards turn 1, but the Ferrari's claimed that inside line. The Ferrari's got a head on the brakes, and the Ferrari is up into 7th place out there. A little wiggle on throttle coming out the corner, but just been able to see it through, and now in the back of TTG Maze, surely that overtake comes through. Vax Viking on fresh softs is making light work, and is all over the Mercedes. Look at this, going up towards turn 4, but Maze will defend it, see it off. Vax Viking making thrilling overtakes out there on track. Now it's the Mercedes in his fights, and despite making an extra pit stop compared to what he wanted, could still be on for a decent result out there.
Yeah, Maximus just having a slight mistake in behind Vax Viking as well. Just a slight catch of the curb coming through turn 4. Nilsson is on the back of this as well, so it's a 4-way battle really for 6th beginning to develop, but I think Vax Viking is all over this one, to be honest. He should get the move done on Maze inevitably, but Maze is keeping on in there. The gap is 5/10, and to be honest, I think Vax Viking and Maze are probably 2 of the most consistent drivers in terms of racecraft that you will ever find in Division 5. Maze and Vax Viking, this battle could be quite intense between these two, but they will know how to put on a battle as well. It's Silas, I think, that is round through turn 5, if I'm not mistaken. So Silas is round through after his fastest lap attempt. Vax Viking now across the line on Maze. 10th of a second running down the straight, and look what this is going to do. It's going to be a swap of positions. Vax Viking now down the inside, has got the move done on Maze. Pretty easy in the end, but Maze does not want to put up without a fight, and running down towards turn 2, he's trying to gain again, but not quite. Vax Viking now in clear air. Clear consistency, 4.6 seconds to Jibby Storm. I think that gap is really reachable before the end of the race. I think he'll get him.
I agree with you there. That gap is already hurtling down, but one gap that isn't to the extent that he would have won is Tekken to Jeffrey. That gap really isn't coming down by as much. I think what's happened is that the extra grip of those medium tires is beginning to deteriorate, and the hards haven't fallen off the cliff just yet. Jeffrey and Rock City in P4 have done absolutely superb jobs of managing it throughout this race. We'll see if it holds up with 4 laps to go here at the Hungaroring. The race is far from over, but it is certainly looking good for Jeffrey. Tekken, theoretically, 4.4 seconds has to be made up in 4 laps. He's still certainly not without question. He's not out of it just yet, but Jeffrey might just be doing enough in terms of lap time for the time being, but it can all change very quickly. One mistake could swing the pendulum either way out there here at Hungary. Now looking down the field there, Maze may be under pressure yet again. Fast lap Vax Viking rapidly chasing down Jimmy Stormers. Now Maximus on the back of Maze to the inside towards turn 1. Maze breaks late as he can, but it may not be late enough as they're going to go side by side still on the exit. The RS is with Maximus, tucks back into the slipstream. May look to fight back towards the inside. Maze though covers it off. That is brilliant defence from TTG Maze. Gave him just enough room and ultimately wasn't enough for Maximus to operate. Couldn't quite get alongside. Maze holds on to that 7th place, but my oh my is he under pressure.
Yeah, Maze really under pressure, but my god, he shut the door there on Maximus. A championship contender, remember, getting the door shut by Maze, who is probably one of the cleanest drivers, I've got to say, on the grid and you'll ever see out on track, and I think it's fantastic to see. Nilsson, by the way, I think he's had the best race out of everyone in this in this pack of 3, because Nilsson, remember, has really disrupted some of this race throughout the second half of this race. Certainly he's disrupted it when he was on that set of hard compounder tyres. So it's really interesting to see Nilsson on the back still of Maximus, and these two have been glued together pretty much like super glue to paper, to be honest, if that makes any sort of sense. You can take that as you will. Vax Viking, however, is on the back of Jippy Storm with 3 laps to go. You know where this one's going. A move for Vax Viking up into P5. Easy as you like. He is through and he's up into P5. But now, Nilsson right on the back of Maximus, trying to weave and dice his way through. Not finding a way through just yet. Nilsson's just got to be careful with that. Of course, you've got to make two line changes, basically. One to position the car going into the corner, and one to take the defensive line. That's what he's got to be careful of. He just nearly breached over that, even though it was the car attacking rather than defending.
Yeah, and we have seen a few instances of that throughout that race as well, with maybe a few stewards reports on the McLaren man's head. We will see, of course, if we can if he manages to get away with that. We'll see. There's not been anything too drastic, but there has just been a few small instances. Maximus looks to be the quicker of the drivers in this train at the moment, but struggling for fuel, struggling for ERS, as is Maze actually, so there's no disadvantage in that regard. We'll see how this changes hands though as we go down. We're on to the penultimate lap now of this race. Jeffrey still leads out there, and at the moment is just about doing enough, but Tekken is slowly but surely chipping away at that advantage, and one penalty for Jeffrey could put this one right into question. So we will see if anything changes out there. Maze again, great exit off the final corner, it must be said. And he is clear, I think, of Maximus, who closes down, uses that slipstream, and chases him down towards the inside, but doesn't commit too much on the brakes. Sits behind him. Maze is doing all he can to defend that position. Maximus bearing down on him, but with the lack of ERS and the lack of excess fuel, is struggling to make that move stick. Maze still holds on to 7th place.
If I was in Maximus' shoes, to be honest, I would just hold back on the ERS. I would try and save it up as much as possible to have a go at him on the final lap. It's not as if he's going to go anywhere. He's going to be right there, and Maximus is still on the back of Maze, coming through turn 4. Gap, by the way, between Jeffrey Tekken has gained slightly. He's cut in a second this lap. Tekken now 6.1 seconds off the back of Jeffrey, but what, 3 seconds with a lap to go? Jeffrey coming across the line now. Tekken 3 seconds to gain. It's impossible, I think, now, to be honest. But you never know. Jeffrey could get a puncture. I hope he doesn't. Touch wood. I hope he doesn't. But Maximus still in the back of Maze as we come on to the final lap of the race. I really hope you've enjoyed this. If you want to stay tuned in as well, we will be revealing the Season 2 calendar if you haven't already seen it. And we'll have, of course, the best... and the Season 2 sign-ups are also open as well. So I'll mention that at the end. But Maximus on the back of Maze out the final corner. Let's see what he's going to do. 0.3 of a second away. He's closer this time to Maze. But again, in terms of the ERS, he's only at 50% deployment. It might not matter, though, because he is going to have a go there here down the inside and towards turn 1. Maze will give him plenty of space. Maybe too much space, to be honest, but it's enough to get the traction off the corner, and Maze hangs on for 7th position for now. Nilsson is coming into play. Nilsson's going to have a go at Maximus down the inside. Not quite. He used up his overtake mode there to good effect, but now he's going to try and go for an impossible move up towards turn 4, and this is surely not going to be on yet. Nilsson just falls in behind on Maximus. Maze, I think, to be honest, as Nilsson runs miles wide there, nearly off to the Austrian border he goes. Maze 7th, Maximus in 8th, but Jeffrey round the final corner. He is going to take the win out on track. He's actually improving on his lap across the line. Jeffrey wins out on track. Is he going to stay that way? Tekken coming across the line in 2nd. Yes, 2.9 seconds the gap in the end. Satmi King gets the new fastest lap of the race. 0 across the line in 3rd. He drove well as well, and pretty much a similar gap there to the back of Tekken. Rock City now around the final corner and fourth. I see the gaps now beginning to fall just in behind. Mays, Maximus and Olsen I think are going to remain as they are. Rock City across the line in fourth. That 5-second penalty might come back to haunt him. Vax Viking up to fourth. Jibby Storm is going to be across the line. He gets fifth by 0.2 of a second. Mays jumps up to fifth though. Wow. And Maximus up to sixth. So Mays and Maximus gain as a result. Nellis is round the final corner to finish in 10th. Passel's not really his race either in 11th, but he will beat Satmi King and Silas Home, who already came across the line. 700th of a second separating Maximus and Jibby Storm. Passel's across the line to finish in 11th position. But Jeffrey, we questioned his strategy throughout the race. His strategy paid off though, and he takes the win out on track tonight. The driver of the day is Mays, and I think he deserves that, to be honest.
Yeah, he drove superbly out there. Managed to interrupt the lead fight for a little bit as well, but also you can't deny the sheer drive of Jeffrey there. That was superb pace and superb tyre management to take them 27 laps it was in the end to the checkered flag, and in the end has come through with the win. Tekken will be happy with that. I believe he will still extend that championship lead. So just solid consistency for the Racing Point is all that needs to be done at the moment, as we're now firmly into the second half of this season. It looks like another positive race for Tekken, but it is Jeffrey's day today. It is a very strong win for the Dutchman.
Yeah, 12 seconds worth of penalties. He could have picked up another one and still would have won, I think. Jeffrey wins out on track from Tekken in second, Zero in third. Top three pretty much reversed, just Tekken and Zero swapping positions. Vax Viking in fourth, Mays from 14th on the grid on a set of hards, making that one-stop strategy work. He finished in fifth. Maximus in sixth, Jibby Storm in seventh, another one that had a one-stop strategy work for him. Rock City in eighth, Nilsson in ninth, Nellis in 10th, Passel's 11th, Sapmi King in 12th, picks up the fastest lap point, which I'm glad to say, Salas in 13th, and Invictus, the only DNF out of the race, which really didn't have much incident within it. It was another great race, and again, maybe the second best race of the season behind Austria, I think.
I think I'm the lucky charm for this division, as it seems. Yeah, this has been an absolutely superb action, but yeah, I don't think it quite matched up to Austria, but I still firmly enjoyed that, and as well commentating with you, James. Always a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure commentating alongside you, Dan, as well. But hold tight, because we have got the Season 2 calendar here for you to be revealed at the end of this session. And, drum roll please. Are we going to get a drum roll tonight, I wonder?
Hang on.
If you haven't already seen the calendar, we go to Bahrain on the week commencing the 20th of October. So that is just, 4 or 5 weeks away from the start of Season 2. Bahrain first round, then week after that is China, which we didn't go to, of course, in real life. Spain is round 3, with Baku round 4. France is round 5. Britain round 6 on my birthday week. However, there's not a race held on my birthday, which is gutting. Belgium, there is a League of Europe race on my birthday actually. Belgium in for round 7, Singapore for round 8, Japan for round 9, and then we've got the Christmas and New Year break, and then we're back for Mexico on the 5th of January 2021, hopefully within a better year as well, and Abu Dhabi rounding off on the week commencing the 12th of January. All the details will be on at TTML_F1. If you're within the TTG Esports Discord or the TTML Discord, then sign-ups are now open for Season 2. So get yourself in there. If you do want to follow these guys out on track, of course, if you do want to follow any of the divisions of the action this season and it's inspired you, get yourself signed up. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, yes, indeed. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to next season. Calendar looks great. Very much looking forward to that one. Of course, though, we still have to see out this season, and we still have 4 more rounds in Italy, Russia, the US, and Brazil to see out this season. So another great race. Hopefully that continues as we get towards the end of the season, James. Very much looking forward to it.
From Monaco without the barriers to the Temple of Speed next week in Italy. It is going to be a pleasure to commentate you through that one. Really hope you've enjoyed the stream tonight. Really hope you've enjoyed the quality of the stream as well. I think it's been fantastic. Certainly from my end, we've got through a stream without any problems, which I think is the first time in years I think this has happened. So for myself and Dan, we will wish you well. Please stay safe out there. I know coronavirus and COVID cases here in the UK and around the world are rising. Keep yourself safe. Keep your family safe as well. Thank you so much for watching Division 5 tonight. And until next time in Italy, goodbye.
Goodbye.